Unfortunately, disappointments come, and that is my attitude to adopt for today, the 1st of October. Just disappointments, they are a way of life, and we see tons of disappointments for Moses in chapter 20. It all starts with his sister passing away. We're told that Miriam died there and was buried there. So the chapter begins with the passing and the death of Miriam, Moses' sister, who's very important, very instrumental. She's called a prophetess. Of course, we remember from chapter 12, she did rebel and she did push against Moses. But, oh goodness, when a sister passes away, how sad that is. So we start there and then add to that verse 2, we see that yet again, what do the people of Israel do? Now there was no water for the congregation, and what do? They assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. So here we go. They're continuing to complain. They said, "Why have you brought the assembly of the Lord into this wilderness that we should die?" We've heard that before, both we and our cattle. Why have you made us come up out of Egypt to bring us to this evil place? So here's what the Lord does. The Lord then tells Moses to do this. He says, "Moses, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to a rock, and I want you to talk to the rock. In the past, you went to the rock and you hit the rock with your staff. This time, listen carefully, Moses. I want you to go to the rock, and I want you to speak to the rock. I want you to talk to the rock." We see there in verse 8, it says, "Take the staff and assemble the congregation, you and Aaron your brother, and tell the rock before their eyes to yield its water." And more disappointment comes, and this disappointment for Moses comes because of himself. And don't you know that you and I, there are bad things that happen to us, but then there are bad things that happen to us because we have brought it about. And that's what's going to happen to Moses, sandwiched right here in the middle of the chapter. We're told Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together like God told them to do. So far, they got the first part right. When they assembled before the rock. And then Moses said to them, "Oh, Moses," he says, "hear now, you rebels." Okay, that could work so far. "Shall we bring water for you out of this rock?" Already we see the bad attitude Moses is experiencing. It has gotten to him, right? The rebels have gotten to him, probably compounded by the grief of his sister passing. Look what he does in verse 11. Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock with his staff twice. It's almost like God tried to let him know the first time, but nothing came out because he didn't tell you to do that, Moses. He told you to talk to the rock. So Moses strikes the rock not once, he does it twice. What comes out of the rock? Water. Water comes out abundantly. The congregation drank and their livestock. But we see right here, Moses is elevating himself. "Shall we bring water for you?" No, Moses, you didn't bring the water. It was the Lord. Verse 12, "And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not believe in me to uphold me as holy in the eyes of the people of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land that I have given them." Moses, you and Aaron are not allowed to go into the promised land because I told you to talk to the rock. Instead of talking to the rock, you hit the rock. We need to obey the Lord. What a serious consequence, what serious disappointment that is for Moses to not go into the promised land because he didn't listen to the Lord. And then the problems further compound. Moses is bearing this burden. He's not going to be going into the promised land. And they come into the land of Edom. So Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. Edom, this nation is descending from Esau. Esau was the brother of Jacob, which is who the Israelites came from. So they've come to their brother. Surely their brother is going to help them. "Thus says your brother Israel, you know all the hardship that we have met, how your fathers went down to Egypt, and we lived in Egypt a long time. The Egyptians dealt harshly with us and our fathers. When we cried to the Lord, he heard our voice, sent an angel, brought us up out of Egypt. And here we are in Kadesh, right on the edge of your territory, and we just want to pass through. Please, brother, let us pass through." And what does Edom say in verse 18? "You shall not pass through, lest I come out with you against the sword." So Edom did not let Israel come through their land. Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory. So Israel turned away from him. More disappointment. And finally, it ends. It's sandwiched. The chapter begins with the death of Moses' sister, and it ends with the death of his brother. Aaron goes. They come to Mount Hor, and the judgment has been set. Aaron and Moses, you are not going into the promised land. Now it is time for Aaron to die. So they go up to Mount Hor, and Aaron goes up there. Eleazar goes up there, Aaron's son, who is going to become the next high priest. They go up to Mount Hor. Verse 26, God says, strip Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar. And Aaron shall be gathered to his people and shall die there. So we see the legacy. Even though the sadness of Aaron's passing is happening, we're seeing that Aaron's legacy, and in particular his office, the office of high priest, is being passed on to Eleazar, his son. The legacy goes on. So we need to remember that even in the midst of disappointments, there is a legacy that can go on. As if you've ever watched Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, there's this portion where the uncle or whatever says, up from the ashes grows the roses of success. So we do need to remember that out of the ashes of disappointment grows some tremendous roses, grows some tremendous fruit. So never forget that in the midst of disappointments, there is a legacy that comes from your life. There's a legacy that comes out of a particular problem. Disappointments come. Disappointments don't have to be the end, because we have a hope in the great God that works together all things for good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. I pray that's been a blessing to you. I'll see you all in the next video.